Let me ask you something that might sting. If you stopped calling today, who would notice you were gone tomorrow? That's not meant to be cruel. It's meant to wake you up. Because after 60, life doesn't just slow down, it changes its rules. And if you're still playing the old game, you're going to lose a lot more than your strength. You'll lose your independence, your peace, your identity. Here's the hard truth: no one is coming to save you. Not your children, they're overwhelmed with their own lives. Not your spouse, they may be struggling quietly beside you. Not society, you're invisible to it now. And not time, time has never had mercy. You raised people. You gave. You sacrificed. You bent until you broke. And now you might be thinking, surely someone will be there when it's my turn to lean on someone else. But reality? Reality asks a much colder question. What did you build when you still had the strength? Because once you cross that threshold, once the candles on your cake start to outnumber the hands at your table, you will find yourself alone with one person, yourself. And the question becomes, did you build something inside that can carry you the rest of the way? I've been a doctor for over 30 years. I've seen the brave fall apart. I've seen the forgotten shine. And the difference has never been genetics, luck, or even money. It always came down to this: did they build the 6 inner pillars that truly hold you up when everything else lets go? This video is not just information, it's a wake-up call. If you've been drifting, waiting, hoping things will change, this is your moment to grab the reins back. And if you stay with me, I'll walk you through the 6 pillars that matter more than family, more than faith, more than fortune, because they are the only things still holding people together after 60. So before we begin, I want you to do something simple but powerful: hit subscribe, share this video, and keep watching until the end. Not because it helps me, but because it might just help you remember who you are, and more importantly, who you're still becoming. Let's begin. Pillar 1, Health, your foundation of freedom. Let's start with what most people ignore until it's too late: your health. Not the kind you get from a supplement. Not the kind that shows up on a birthday wish. I'm talking about the kind of health that's built, slowly, stubbornly, across decades of small, silent, uncelebrated choices. Because the truth is brutal, you don't arrive at 60 healthy by accident. If you're still walking upright, still cooking your meals, still getting out of bed without groaning, that's not luck. That's labor. That's the result of 100 days when you said no to sugar, when you took the stairs instead of the elevator, when you showed up to your body even when no one clapped for you. And if you didn't make those deposits? The bill is coming due. Stiff knees. Aching backs. Chronic fatigue. They're not betrayals. They're balance statements. They're saying, you stopped paying attention, and now the interest has accrued. I had a patient, Michael, 67, who told me, "Doc, I never thought my biggest regret would be how I treated my knees in my 30s. He used to laugh off stretching, scoff at sleep, and call people health nuts. Now he has to plan his day around pain." You see, after 60, your body isn't just your vehicle, it's your last form of freedom. If you can't move, you can't participate. If you can't stand for long, you can't travel, volunteer, or even shop without planning every step. You don't lose years, you lose moments. And that's how dignity disappears, not all at once, but in small humiliations. Let's be real. No one is going to maintain your health for you. Your doctor can advise. Your family can worry. But only you can make your legs stronger. Only you can choose to move today, even when it's cold, even when it hurts. That walk around the block? That light strength training session? That refusal to eat another processed, sugar-filled snack? Those aren't just habits. They are your rebellion against decline. And no, it's not too late. I've seen 72-year-olds take their first yoga class. I've seen 80-year-olds reverse type 2 diabetes with walking and vegetables. I've seen people who were once prisoners of their couch get their freedom back, not from a pill, but from discipline. But you have to start. Not tomorrow. Not after the next holiday. Now. Because every day you delay, the fight becomes harder. And one day, if you don't act, the choice will be taken away completely, replaced by walkers, home health aides, and quiet isolation. So what does real health discipline look like? It looks like waking up and moving your body even when it aches. Drinking water before you drink coffee. Saying no to the snack that comforts but damages. Stretching even if no one's watching. Walking for your future, not just your figure. You are not too old to get stronger. You are not too broken to improve. And you are not too late to begin. Your body is either going to become your greatest ally, or your daily obstacle. That choice is yours. But here's the good news, you still have a choice. Pillar 2, Routine, the silent anchor that holds you to life. You don't just wake up one day and feel lost. It happens slowly. Quietly. First, you stop setting the alarm. Then you stop dressing before noon. Then one day, you realize you haven't left the house in 3 days, and no one noticed, not even you. That's what happens when routine disappears. People think routine is boring, a list of repetitive tasks for people with nothing better to do. But that couldn't be more wrong. Routine isn't boring. Routine is survival. It's the invisible framework that holds your life upright when everything else starts to sag. When work ends. When your children move away. When social invitations grow quiet. What's left? Structure, or the lack of it. I had a patient named Alice. She retired after 38 years of nursing. No alarm clock. No shifts. No patients. Just peace, or so she thought. 6 months later, she came into my office crying and said, "I thought I wanted rest. What I really needed was rhythm." And that's exactly it. We don't thrive in endless rest. We thrive in meaningful movement. We need the day to pull us forward, not collapse around us. So let me ask you. What are the first 3 things you do every morning? Do they nourish your body, sharpen your mind, and give you direction? Or are they habits of autopilot and retreat? Because after 60, the danger isn't just disease. It's drifting. And drifting leads to deterioration, physical, emotional, and spiritual. You don't need a military schedule. But you do need a personal anchor. Wake up at the same time each day. Make your bed, not because it matters to anyone else, but because it signals that you're still in command. Read something that challenges you, even if it's just 1 page. Walk, not to burn calories, but to remind your legs you still need them. Prepare your meals, not out of obligation, but as an act of respect for the body that carries you. And don't forget the quiet rituals. Stretching while the coffee brews. Lighting a candle at sunset. Writing down one thought at night that made the day worthwhile. These may seem small. But they are not meaningless. They are the threads that sew your soul back together after life begins to fray. Because without structure, time becomes formless. And when time loses shape, so do we. I've seen it happen. People retire with dreams of leisure and quickly spiral into depression. Not because they're weak, but because they never learned how to be without a role. Routine gives you a role. It tells you, you are still the author of this day. Even when no one needs you. Even when no one's watching. Even when the silence feels deafening. You are not here just to pass time. You are here to shape it. So start small. Choose one thing you'll do every day, no matter what. Something that roots you. Something that reflects who you still are, and who you're still becoming. And if you ever find yourself wondering, why does my day feel so empty? Check your structure. Not your calendar. Because after 60, the clock doesn't govern you. Your values should. Build your rhythm. Protect it. It will protect you. Pillar 3, money, your dignity in numbers. Let's speak plainly. After 60, money is no longer about ambition. It's about autonomy. You're not trying to climb ladders or impress anyone. You're trying to protect something far more sacred, your dignity. Because here's what most people never say out loud. It is incredibly hard to grow old with grace when you are financially dependent. I've seen it too many times. A man who worked his whole life now hesitates before filling his prescription, not because he doubts the medicine, but because he's counting pennies. A woman who raised 3 children now lowers her voice when asking her daughter for help with rent, afraid of being a burden. These are not failures. These are casualties of false security. You were told, family will take care of you. But here's the truth I've learned in decades of practice, even loving families have limits. Not always because they don't care, but because they're struggling too. And when your survival rests on someone else's shoulders, especially your children, the relationship shifts. You tiptoe. You second guess. You stop asking for what you need. You shrink. That's not what your later years should look like. They should be a time of peace, of self-respect, of choice. But that only happens if you understand this truth. Financial independence isn't about luxury, it's about control. Control over your healthcare decisions. Control over your daily life. Control over whether you say yes or no, not based on guilt or fear, but on values. You don't need to be wealthy. You just need to be stable. Can you buy the groceries you want without flinching? Can you replace a flat tire without borrowing money? Can you turn down help because you truly don't need it? If the answer is yes, that's not pride, that's power. I remember a patient, George, who came into my office smiling. He was 78 and lived alone. Nothing flashy. But I'll never forget what he said. "Doc, I can buy myself flowers when I feel like it. That's enough for me. That's financial dignity." He didn't need millions. He needed freedom from fear. So how do you get there? It starts with discipline. Discipline to say no to things you don't need. Discipline to save even when it feels like there's nothing left to put away. Discipline to learn, yes, even now, how to budget, how to plan, how to invest what little you have wisely. And if you're already in a difficult spot, don't give up. You can still pivot. Cut back on the unnecessary. Downsize without shame. Explore income streams, even small ones, teaching, freelancing, consulting, selling what you no longer use. Every dollar you earn or protect at this stage of life is more than just money, it's a vote for your independence. Because when your financial house is in order, you walk differently. You speak differently. You make choices, not compromises. Let me leave you with this. No one should have to beg for survival. And no one should grow old in fear of becoming someone else's obligation. Take your money seriously, not because it defines your worth, but because it protects it. The world will not give you dignity. But if you build financial stability, even quietly, even slowly, you can claim it for yourself. And that's a pillar no storm can take from you. Pillar 4, emotional discipline, the battle you can't afford to lose. There's a battle happening inside you right now. It's not in your joints. It's not in your heart. It's in your mind. In the way you carry old wounds. In the way you react to disappointment. In the way silence makes you uncomfortable because it leaves you alone with your thoughts. Most people think emotional strength is about staying calm. It's not. It's about staying whole, when grief resurfaces, when anger tempts you to destroy, when shame whispers that you're not enough. And after 60, if you haven't learned to govern your emotions, they will govern you. I've treated patients who were physically strong, financially stable, even socially supported, and yet, they were emotionally broken. One woman, 71, sat across from me and said through tears, "I've been angry for 40 years, and it's only hurting me." That's what emotional chaos does. It eats from the inside out. And when your body starts slowing down, your mind, left unchecked, can turn into your worst enemy. Let's be honest, we've all been hurt. Abandoned. Betrayed. Forgotten. But emotional maturity doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. It means choosing not to let it control what happens next. Here's the hard part, you've rehearsed your emotional patterns for decades. You already know how you'll react when someone disagrees. You already know what shuts you down. And unless you consciously interrupt those patterns, unless you stop mid-reaction and ask yourself, is this who I want to be? You'll keep playing the same script, even as the stage changes. And let me say this gently, but clearly. Being older does not mean being wiser. Wisdom is not guaranteed by age. Wisdom is earned through emotional work. I had a patient, Tom, 75, whose children rarely visited. He thought it was because they were too busy. The truth? They were exhausted from walking on eggshells around him. His sarcasm, his need to control every conversation, his refusal to forgive, these weren't quirks. They were emotional scars turned into weapons. He wasn't a bad man. He was a hurt man who never learned how to stop bleeding. And the most dangerous thing about unhealed emotional pain? It doesn't just stay in your head. It becomes illness. Stress hormones. Sleepless nights. Muscle tension. Digestive issues. Isolation. So what does emotional discipline look like after 60? It looks like pausing before speaking when you're angry. Naming your sadness without drowning in it. Choosing to forgive, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Letting go of needing to be right in order to stay connected. Feeling fully, but responding wisely. This is not softness. This is strength. And it takes work. It takes journaling when your thoughts feel like a storm. It takes therapy, even if you think you're too old for it. It takes breathing before exploding. It takes learning the difference between a wound and a habit. Because some of the pain you think is fresh has actually been with you for 30 years, you've just been re-injuring it with your own thoughts. Let me say this clearly. You are not your past. You are not your trauma. You are not too old to change. Emotional discipline doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means your feelings no longer drive the bus, they sit in the back seat, observed, acknowledged, but not in control. And the reward? Peace. Deeper relationships. Sleep that finally rests you. Days that aren't consumed by old scripts. And a soul that doesn't flinch every time someone says something hard. If no one has told you this yet, let me be the first. You still have time to heal. And your healing is not selfish, it's sacred. Because when you become emotionally whole, you don't just change your own life. You change the way others feel around you. You become a safe place in a stormy world. That is legacy. That is leadership. That is the kind of power no age can take from you. Pillar 5, physical strength, The hidden key to aging with power. There's something no one tells you when you're young. The greatest form of freedom after 60 is not money. It's muscle. It's the ability to carry your own groceries. To get out of bed without wincing. To reach for a shelf without fearing you'll lose your balance. And yet, most people don't realize this truth until it's already slipping away. Let me tell you about a man named Robert. He was 79 when he came into my office, walking tall, not quickly, not effortlessly, but independently. He'd been lifting light weights twice a week for over 20 years. I asked him what motivated him. He said, "I just want to be able to pick up my granddaughter without asking for help." That's real power. Not showy. Not loud. But purposeful. The truth is simple. Muscle is the currency of independence. And after 60, your body stops offering you strength as a gift, you have to earn it. If you don't use your legs, they forget how to stand. If you don't challenge your arms, they forget how to carry. If you don't train your balance, one misstep can break a hip, and with it, your entire sense of agency. I've watched it happen. One fall. One fracture. One long hospital stay. Suddenly, someone who was just a little out of shape is now dependent on walkers, nurses, or worse, silence. But here's the good news no one emphasizes enough. You can rebuild. Not back to who you were at 30, but forward into someone stronger than anyone expected. It doesn't take hours at the gym. It doesn't take fancy equipment. It takes commitment. Start small. Walk 20 minutes a day. Do chair squats. Use resistance bands. Stretch every morning like it's a ritual, because it is. It's a ritual of reclamation. And don't say, "I'm too old." That's not your voice, that's fear talking. Because I've had patients in their 70s reverse prediabetes, reduce pain, regain balance, and walk without canes, not because of miracles, but because of movement. You see, aging doesn't automatically bring weakness. What brings weakness is stillness. When you stop asking your body to serve you, it stops believing it matters. But when you move, even slowly, even shakily, your body says, "We're still in this." You start to feel steady again. You feel proud again. And maybe most important of all, you feel safe inside your own skin. And remember, this isn't just about you. When you stay strong, you become less of a burden to those you love. You get to show up fully, not as someone who needs rescuing, but as someone who still has presence, strength, and purpose. So if you've been sedentary for years, today is the day you change that story. Put on your shoes. Stand up slowly. Walk to the end of the street and back. Tomorrow, go farther. Next week, add one stretch. The week after, one light weight. Every small act of movement is a vote for life. And those votes add up. They become stability. They become confidence. They become the difference between needing help and offering it. So when people say, "You're aging well," it won't be about luck. It'll be because you chose not to surrender. And that choice, that refusal to shrink, is the very definition of power. Pillar 6, Purpose, the final fuel for a life that still matters. There's a moment that eventually comes to every one of us. It usually doesn't arrive loudly. It comes in the silence. When the calendar is empty. When the phone has stopped ringing. When no one needs you to show up anywhere. And you begin to ask yourself a quiet but terrifying question. Now what? After a lifetime of chasing careers, family, goals, responsibilities, you finally have time. But no one tells you that time without purpose is not freedom. It's drift. It's erosion. It's a slow unraveling of your identity. I've seen people with strong hearts and steady income crumble inside because they didn't know what they were living for anymore. One of my patients, Margaret, told me something I'll never forget. She said, "I thought I'd feel relief when I didn't have to be needed anymore. But instead, I just feel invisible." That's what happens when purpose leaves the room. The body may keep going. The routine may still tick forward. But the soul? It begins to dim. You see, purpose isn't optional after 60. It's essential. It's the oxygen of your inner life. And no, your purpose doesn't have to be grand. You don't need to start a nonprofit. You don't need to write a book or go viral online. You just need something, anything, that makes you feel like you still matter. Purpose can be teaching your grandchildren how to cook your old recipes. Showing up every week to help at your local library. Tending a garden that feeds not just your body, but your soul. Writing letters to people who think no one remembers them. Telling your story, not because it's extraordinary, but because it's yours, and someone needs to hear it. Because when you stop pouring into others, your spirit starts to run dry. When you stop creating, you start decaying, not just physically, but emotionally. And here's what no one tells you. If you don't choose a purpose, something else will choose you. Distraction. Numbness. Endless television. Complaining. Gossip. Regret. These things will fill the space where purpose used to live, and they will hollow you out from the inside. So how do you find it again? Start by asking, what breaks my heart? What lights me up? Who could benefit from what I've learned the hard way? What unfinished conversation, talent, or lesson still lives inside me? Because purpose, at this age, isn't about achievement. It's about impact. You've lived. You've survived. That alone gives you something to give back. And maybe the world won't clap for it. Maybe no one sees the difference you're making. But you will feel it. In your bones. In your breath. In the way the days feel just a little more meaningful again. I've seen it happen. I've seen people in their 70s come alive again because they found one child to mentor. One elderly neighbor to check on. One small mission that gave their mornings meaning. Because here's the truth. You are not done. You are not just waiting. You are not a relic from a fading time. You are a torchbearer. You are a teacher. You are a living library of pain, wisdom, laughter, and survival. And someone, somewhere, needs the exact light you carry. But you have to light it yourself. No one else will do it for you. No one else can. So take the risk. Step into something that demands your attention, your care, your courage. Even if it's small. Especially if it's small. Because the smallest fires, when tended daily, keep the night from swallowing us whole. Let your life mean something today. Not in the eyes of the world. But in the quiet certainty that you are still becoming, and you're not finished yet. If you've made it this far, I want to tell you something no lab test, no x-ray, no prescription will ever reveal. Your life is not over. But your time is more precious now than ever. For over 30 years, I've walked alongside people at every stage of life. I've held hands in recovery rooms and stood silent beside hospital beds where no one else came. I've watched people slip quietly into decline, and I've watched others, with less strength, less money, less luck, rise with a fire that refused to go out. The difference? It was never about age. It was about preparation. It was about how they chose to build their lives from the inside out, long before the storms came. I've seen patients in their 60s who were already gone in spirit, bitter, dependent, disconnected, just waiting for the end. And I've seen patients in their 80s, 90s, even beyond, still laughing, still learning, still offering something to the world, because they had something the body couldn't take away. They had pillars. Health. Routine. Financial dignity. Emotional balance. Physical strength. And above all, purpose. You may think, but I didn't build all that. I didn't start early. It's too late for me. Let me tell you this, clearly and without hesitation. It is not too late. Maybe you can't reverse everything, but you can stop the bleeding. You can reinforce what still stands. You can rebuild. Because your future isn't measured in years, it's measured in what you choose to do with the time that remains. You don't need to do everything overnight. But you do need to start. Start with one habit that honors your body. One decision that brings back structure to your day. One financial choice that gives you just a little more peace. One act of forgiveness, maybe for someone else, maybe for yourself. One walk. One stretch. One meal that nourishes. One conversation that matters. One reason to get up tomorrow that doesn't come from obligation, but from within. You are not a burden. You are not behind. You are not finished. You are standing at a powerful crossroad, and your next step is not about what the world owes you. It's about what you're still willing to fight for. Fight for your strength. Fight for your dignity. Fight for the version of you that refuses to go quietly. Because aging is not the end of your story, it is the test of what you've truly built. And if you build these 6 pillars, even now, even slowly, you won't just survive your later years. You will rise in them. So take a breath. Stand up. You are not broken. You are being reassembled into someone wiser, deeper, and more resilient than ever before. And when your final day comes, as it does for all of us, may you look back and say, I stood tall. I built what mattered. I did not waste the years I was given. That is what I wish for you. From one human to another. From one heart that has seen many to yours that still beats strong. This life still belongs to you. Now go out there and live it like it does.